Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Survival Let's Play series with me, Guy Tries. This is episode 12. If you guys haven't seen episode 11, we made a pretty cool looking greenhouse. And we also made a pretty cool looking church. If you guys haven't seen that episode, please do check it out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let's talk about what we've done today at the beginning of today's episode. That's right, we did spice it up a little bit. We actually built something at the very start, and that was the silo that you see behind me, and also the couple of silos over here. We actually have three. We got one there, and one all the way in the back over there. The reason why I've done that at the start is because we're not trying to focus on these things here yet. Actually, we're not going to focus them at all because these things are just little placeholders, perhaps just things to fill in this space. And as you guys can also see, I've also added some wheat, a whole bunch of wheat into this particular area. This whole place used to be kind of patchy, kind of spotty with the wheat. I figured we might as well go ahead and add in this whole entire area, fill it up with wheat, just to make it look a little bit nicer. And I think, all in all, it did turn out great, and I'm super happy with how this thing turned out. But the longer I stare at it, I'm thinking this stable is a bit out of place because we have a whole bunch of other buildings that don't really have to do with farm, as in the farmland. I'm thinking maybe sometime in the future, we might remove this little building over here and add it into a different area. But that's something we can tackle in a later episode, in another video. For today, let's have a quick look at this silo, just because this one is different from the rest, as in the rest that we've built. So, this silo here is just a carbon copy of that one over there, in the sense that it does exactly the same thing. This thing here does have a moss farm, a bone meal farm in there, sorry. So if we go into the little cheaty cam, we can go inside and have a look. As you can see, we do have a moss farm. Over here, we have a 2-stack moss farm. And this thing here is just to give us bone meal for the tree farm just over here. So if I duck down into this little silo, we can see there is a tube. This is where all the bone meal comes out from. And it will travel all the way down through this tunnel. And this tunnel will lead us into this tree farm that we've made for the tree shop. We are directly under the tree shop. So the reason why I've done this is because I don't want to keep going back and forth and filling up the silos from that one all the way into this tree farm. It does take quite some time, even though we do have shulkers. It is quite tedious, so I figured let's go ahead and make this little tree farm its own bone meal making machine. So when we turn on this tree farm, it's just going to automatically switch this on as well and start generating bone meal so we can infinitely make some of our trees. But with that out of the way and that being said, let's go ahead and let's get started with today's project. So, in today's episode, we are going to tackle something that I've been using, something that I've been needing to fix for quite a long time. For those who haven't seen me using this little starting area, this is what I basically deal with every single time I make a project. This is my starting area. I have a bunch of chests with a bunch of stone, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of other things in there, and I come here every single time to collect my blocks. And if I need to smelt, I have this array of 8 furnaces, and I just smelt in here manually, and I have a whole bunch of coal that I've been collecting throughout today's episode and other episodes, and I just use these things manually one at a time. So in today's episode, that is what we're going to fix. We're going to leave these chests here. These chests will eventually go after we fix this thing over here. We're going to make a super smelter that will allow us to smelt things super quickly, and also will allow us to not do things manually other than put in the blocks and also the coals. So we're going to do that right over here. It's just going to be right over here. I think we're going to make this land nice and flat. We're not going to get rid of this path. We're just going to build over it. But what we're going to do is we're going to flatten out this land. We're going to build this thing right on top. And I think it'll be a nice little view with everything that it has going on with it. We'll have the iron shop in the back. We'll have that nice big tower from the tree shop and that silo over there. And then we'll have right in the center a nice little super smelting factory. I think that'll be a pretty cool look. And this super smelting factory is not just going to be a super smelter. Guys, I'm going to use one of my own custom little redstone machines for today's build as well. It's going to have a nice little passageway that will go down. Not too sure how I'm going to do that yet, but it's going to go down, and we're going to do some digging, and we're going to make a nice big hole so we can fit a custom farm inside. And now Not going to say what it is, so you guys will have to stick around and find out. But it is pretty cool. It is a block that I've been wanting to use for quite some time, and it is very tedious to get unless you're in a specific area, which we are currently not. So let's fix that. But enough of what we're going to do, and let's get started with the doing. And let's go ahead and fill this little area with some grass. Okay, so let's go back to the little starting area and let's grab a whole bunch of grass. I believe I do have a whole bunch of shulker boxes full of it, maybe. Oh, we'll grab some of these ones though. And let me see, how many shulker boxes of grass? Okay, just a whole bunch of dirt. So we'll just grab this one. We'll definitely not use all of that, but just in case. Okay. Let's go ahead and get set up right in here. Do we take down the boulders first? No. Okay. I think we'll do the grass first and then I'll take down the boulders whilst we, well, when we come across them. Now let's get placing. And we can finally cover up this pathway. Let's just pretend that this was never here. I know, it's a waste of some oak blocks, but that's okay. We do have a tree farm after all, so these things won't be missed too much. Okay, let's go ahead and let's get rid of this big boulder here as well. It's such a shame. These things look so cool, but maybe we can put them somewhere else, and maybe next time I'll go ahead and decorate them as well. But yeah, for now, these things are in the way. So goodbye boulder. And just the last little bit here. Going to pull this little dirt mound back towards the wall, and I think we will shape it as well. And then we'll get rid of the trees, and then we can move on to the next thing. But whilst I have you guys here, I do want to say thank you very much for all of your comment, all of your support in the last episode. It was very, very much appreciated, and we had a bunch of very cool ideas that I think I will be using from the last video's comment in today's video. So stay tuned for that. I think we'll do that towards the end once we've finished the rest of today's episode. Alrighty, now the walls are all nice and done. Not really, but as you can see, we put this nice little curve to it, just running along the side until it hits this wall, and then it'll go into the next wall and then curve back in. Yes, this little tree is floating. I'm not too sure if I want to keep this one here yet. I'm not too sure how it looks with the actual build, so I'm just kind of leaving it, letting it float for now, and if it does fit in, then maybe I'll just add a nice little curve around here as well, so that this thing isn't floating, or maybe I'll just extend it to the bottom and add some more leaves around the side as well. But that's something that we can do in the future. But for now, we're all done with the little adding of grass. As you can see, we've added over the little pathway we had going on, and I've shaped the back wall. So now it's time for us to dig, and we're going to dig a nice big hole straight down. I think maybe from somewhere here, I think. And we're going to go straight down because we need to dig a nice big hole underneath, which is ironic because I did say before when covering this place up that we weren't going to dig up the pathway, but now we are. So let's go ahead and dig straight down. Let's go really far down because I know we'll need a nice big space, and then we'll dig out to the side and we'll see where that takes us. And is this big enough? I wonder. I think maybe, yeah. Actually, you know what? This might be too big. Let's go back up a little bit. It's a deep build, but it's not that deep, I think. So we shouldn't have to go too far. And now let's just dig out forward as well. See how much further we need to go. Okay. Ooh, diorite. I might need that later on as well. Awesome. So the one thing I like about digging these massive holes is that we do actually get a lot of other little materials that we can use for projects in later episodes. I always find myself not having enough diorite, so this is going to be super useful. So once we dig this up, we do need to collect some materials. I don't have everything in this particular build. I will be using a particular block that I haven't used before in any of my builds, and I'm really curious to see how it looks in this build, and I hope that you guys end up enjoying it. Hopefully it does look nice and it kind of blends in well with the entire build. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Of course, please do. Your feedback is actually quite meaningful to me, guys, so thank you for all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off this little rectangle that I have going on over here. And then once we do that, I'll go ahead and finish off digging out the rest of this area. We'll find that nice little block I was talking about. And then I think we can start building. And after I do, of course, I will check in every now and then just to show you guys the progress of the build and whatnot. So I'll see you guys in just a moment. change of plan, guys. I'm not actually going to go ahead and find that block we were talking about and then build the build. We're just going to start with the redstone section first because, well, I have dug a hole out already. As you can see, it is a nice big hole, but it's not as big as I made it out to be. It's just very long and it didn't take too much time. I think it only took me like 40 minutes, maybe to an hour. Not too sure. But as you can see, it's all dug out and I figured, why not start with the redstone, considering that we already have all of the materials in here. And speaking of materials, as you guys can see, not a whole bunch of things that we actually need. In terms of the actual build, it's not very complicated. I'm sure you can tell by the redstone and all the little things inside of these things here. But of course, I'll run through it with you guys once I do finish building it, and I'll tell you what it does. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, this build, this little redstone here, is going to be a rooted dirt farm. My own little rooted dirt farm. I've always wanted to use this little block, and we can always add it into the pathways as well. So I figured let's go ahead and make it today. And with this particular farm, it does give us a byproduct of some logs. And we do already have a log farm, an oak log farm, so we don't need it. So we're going to turn that into some sort of, well, not going to spoil it for you, so let's just put that on hold. Let's put that thought on hold for now. But we're definitely going to make use of everything that is given to us from this farm. So let's get building, actually. Let's grab a whole bunch of these things here. And let's start putting all of this thing. Okay, you know what? Let's just do all this. We can fit everything in here. And let's get rid of the things that we don't need. We'll pull that out bed, actually. And yeah, we'll put one of these guys out just in case. But otherwise, we will... Yeah, okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and let's start building. But where do we start? You know what? Let's start over here. I think this is the collection system, so let's go ahead and build this up first. And then once we do that, we can do the rest of this little area. And today's comment of the day goes to _Bales. And he says, you should honestly just change your name to Guy Does at this point. Thank you very much, Bales, for that compliment and for your comment on that episode. For those who don't know who Bales is, he's an amazing YouTuber, an amazing Minecrafter. Please go ahead and check him out. And while you're at it, check out all the other Eternal SMP members as well. And there it is, guys. The redstone section is now all done. And I know what you're thinking. This thing looks a little bit complicated. It looks very messy. And I would have to agree with you. It definitely does. But trust me, guys, it is quite a simple build in terms of the redstone. I mean, it's just a couple of things put together, a couple of machines put together that make it look a little bit more messy than it actually is. For example, just there is a TNT duper. And over there is a shocker box unloader. And together they kind of look like a jumbled mess. But that's okay, because I'm going to go through all of this with you, not in super detail, because today's episode isn't about this particular build. It's about the little thing we got going on at the very top. But I will go over it nice and simply, if that's a word, simply, yep, simply for you guys. And if you do want an in-depth explanation or something like that, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be more than happy, to let you guys know. But let's get started. So, over in this little section here, this is the actual rooted dirt farm. This is where we'll be making rooted dirt, and also where we'll be making the logs, because if you guys don't know how to make rooted dirt, well, if you grow an azalea tree, the block underneath it will turn into rooted dirt, and that is what we're going to do today, and that is how we're going to get it. So, let's fly up here, and let's have a look at the brains of all of this. So this here is an item counter, I believe. As you can see, we got one in the drop over there. I think that's dropper. And one in the hopper over here. So 2 in the hopper. And basically what this thing is going to do is it's going to observe the block at the very top. it's going to keep count of the block changes that we see here. This is the moss block. And as you can see, we've got one item there left. Once we place an azalea tree on top, this will turn into a root of dirt, and then this over here will then be fired off into this little hop over here, and then it'll just unlock the rest of the system, and things will start pushing and pulling, things will start sizzling, and things will start exploding, and we'll start collecting the things we're looking for, which is super exciting. But anyway, let's continue with how this works. Once we have this and it gets converted into root of dirt, we'll also have a piece of log over here as well, an oak log, and those will both get pushed to the side right over here into this little piston V-tape that will just push it all across. And once it reaches that little ball over there, it's going to get detected by this observer, and then that's just going to fire this entire line of pistons, pushing them all across, and at the same time it's going to activate that TNT duper, and it's going to drop one right over there, and it's going to blow everything up. It's going to be collected through here, sent out to the side, up and around, and all the dirt, all the root of dirt is going to go up. And like I said, there is going to be some byproduct, which is the oak. Now we could sort the oak, but we have a tree farm already, so we're going to do something special with that. This is something that I saw in Doc MC's video. Guys, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend you go ahead and check it out. I'll put a link in the description down below. But basically, he and someone in his Discord server had made an automatic charcoal maker. Basically what that does is it converts logs into charcoal, and then it recycles it until you have a whole bunch of charcoal stocked up in here. As you can see, I've just took one out because we do have another section over here. I've already preloaded this whole thing with charcoal. If you guys do want to have an in-depth look at how that works, please see Doc MC's video. Again, it'll be in the description down below. But that is basically everything. That was quite a simple explanation. All the dirt goes up, the logs go into here and get turned into charcoal. And once they do, they'll be spat out into this little stream of here, go around and go up into the furnace, and that will be how we generate our coal. So it kind of all works together. But with that being said, let's go ahead and test it. But actually, before we do, let's get a little closer look at how we make the moss. Alright, let's get down here. I really like this jump boost. But anyway, you can see there is some stone. We fly up here. There is a stone generator, and we have a couple of pistons, and those pistons will make the stone, and then we'll push it across so we can make this into moss block. And how we do that is we bone meal that moss block over there, and anything adjacent to that will also be converted into moss blocks, and then we can put a little azalea tree on top, bone meal that, and that will be turned into root of dirt and oaks, and then they'll be pushed aside. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. We have a whole bunch of bone meal in here. As you can see, got one in my hand. Let's put that back in there. We also have a bunch of azaleas in this dropper. Yeah, so we don't have that much. We will collect some later down the track, but just for now, just to see if it works, we will put this back in and grab a whole bunch of it later. But azaleas go in there, and we have a hopper clock system over here, which will just fire these guys at the very start, and they will get throttled because we have a pressure plate at the very top. So we'll be collecting only 4 items at a time, so we won't have a whole bunch of things stacking out for no reason. We don't have any lag for no reason, so we'll just be standing here and collecting things passively. But with that being said, let's go ahead and test it to make sure it actually works. So let's grab a bunch of these, and let's grab some bone meal, and let's see if this thing gives us root of dirt. Okay, so once we plant the azalea, the tree will grow, the dirt will get pushed out along with the log. At exactly the same time, the stone generator is going to make stone, it's going to push it across, and at the exact same time that happens, the stone will be converted into a moss block, and also the lava will be dispensed, burning anything on top. And then from there, it's rinse and repeat. I plant the azalea, root of dirt, and the logs get pushed out all the way to the side, as you can see here. And once it reaches the wall, it gets pushed out in front, and then the TNT duper will do its thing. It will take roughly around 40 seconds for the entire row to fill up and then get pushed out. So, not too bad of a machine if I don't say so myself. Okay, so we have that all done. As you can see, it's all working, which means that we can go ahead and finally start building. Oh, the root of dirt. We can finally go ahead and start building everything, guys. Oh, a little bit of moss action down here. Maybe we'll convert that into something else, but that's all working, which means that we can finally start building. Here we go. Is it still raining? Let's take a little nap. Nope, not yet. So as you guys can see, we have a whole bunch of items in here. This is what we'll be using to make today's build. We're going to finish off with this build. It's a very quick video today, which I'm quite surprised. Hopefully it is below 40 minutes, a little bit quicker than what we usually do. But we have a whole bunch of blocks, but we are still missing one particular block, and we're going to go and get that right now. So let's go and find that block, okay? And splash. Here we are, guys. We are in a nice little warm ocean biome because we are after these guys over here. We are after, what are they called again? The brain corals? Yeah, we're after the brain corals, and we're going to grab maybe a stack or two of these guys, and these are the blocks that I'm really excited in using today. I've never really used these blocks before, like I've mentioned, so in today's build, we're going to incorporate them, and we're going to see how they look. Of course, let me know in the comments down below what it looks like, how you think it's turned out. But I'm super excited to use these things. When they look dried up, they look way better. They look way more like stone than cobblestone does, if you ask me. But of course, that's just my opinion. But let's go ahead and let's grab a whole bunch of these things today. We're just going to get these ones for now. I haven't used any of the other corals, like the yellow, the red, the blue. I think out of all of them, this one looks the best. Oh, speaking of, I did just break that. And we need to get some oxygen. But out of all the corals that are dried up, I believe these ones look the best and look the most like stone. But maybe in other builds within the future, we can go ahead and try out the different corals. But for now, let's just grab a whole bunch of these nice pink ones as well. We're mainly going to use it for the grayness and also the texture that you see on the actual block. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a bunch of these, and I will see you back at the homestead and we can start building. Actually, we'll talk about what kind of blocks we're actually going to use today, including these ones, and we'll have a little run through of what the build's going to look like before we start building, and then we'll build. I'll see you guys in just a moment. Alright guys, welcome back to the home base. Yes, it's finally time for us to start building, but before we do, let's quickly go over the color palettes I will be using today in this build. I know what you're thinking. Yes, you guys have seen the thumbnail, so yes, you do know what it looks like, but I figured let's just quickly go over it anyway. So in today's build, we're going to be making 3 separate buildings that will be kind of connected together. We'll have a nice long pathway that kind of runs through all of them. One in the middle will be where the super smelter is. We'll have another one to the side over here, which will be the access that will allow us to go underneath to the rooted dirt farm. And for the last building, we'll have a nice tall building kind of just sitting right here, kind of blocking that little view of the silo. And that will be where we'll have the redstone that kind of controls the super smelter. But in terms of the actual color palettes that we'll be using today, if I open my inventory, as you guys can see, I have separated these things into their own buildings. For example, we have building 1 over here, we have building 2, and we have building 3. As you guys can see, building 3 does have a lot more colors, a lot more blocks than the others, but we'll go over that once we get there. For the first building, we have these blocks right here. Super excited for this one actually, because it's the first time I've really used dark colors like this, but we're actually going to start off with some black stone over here, transition that into some deep slate bricks, and then we're going to use the front facing part of this deep slate over here. And then from there, we're going to use some coal blocks, and then we're going to use some andesite. It's a nice little transition over there with the coal. As you can see, it's got the grays, it's darker than the andesite, but it's also got some blacks that kind of connect it to the deep slate. At first, it doesn't look quite appealing, but trust me, if I kind of stack these guys on top, let's do it like this. I'm kind of bring that up. As you guys can see, the transition between the colors becomes a little bit more smooth. And then we're going to accent that with some dark black wool, and on this side we'll be using some light gray wool as well, kind of just to top it all off. It is, I know what you're thinking, it is a little bit darker maybe, but in terms of shade, I think that is a lighter color over there. So that's building 1. Now let's go ahead and check out building 2. As I put this away, you guys can probably already see it is quite different. It's going to be way more brown as compared to the rest. We're going to start off with these colors here. We'll have a nice dripstone color, which is in itself kind of reddish, kind of brown, and also a little bit purple. And we're going to stack that up with some granite, which is, as you can see, kind of reddish, pinkish. But as you guys can see, kind of blends in not too badly on its own. And then we're going to bring some back of the red and the pink. As you can see, we're going to use some rooted dirt, and all these 3 colors kind of transition itself kind of really nicely. If we step back, you can see how it kind of fades into one another, and that's exactly what we want. But just a single line is not going to convince you. So let's go ahead and let's stack up another one. Let's put that there, and another rooted dirt on top. And now if we step back, what do you guys think? I know what you're thinking. The dripstone block is quite harsh, but that is the point. But these other 2 blocks, they kind of fade into one another, especially with all the little dots within the rooted dirt. It kind of makes it even easier for things to blend into it. And I think sticking it with the red of the granite is a massive okay for me. And then we're going to accent that with some polished granite as well, which is going to be sitting on the top of the rooted dirt. So that's building 2. Now let's have a look at building 3. So as you can see, we have a whole bunch of blocks here, but what we're going to do is we're going to split it up into 2 different sections. This build, like I said, is going to be quite tall. The first section is going to be using a lot of the cobblestones and a lot of the stone cutter colors, a lot more grays than these ones. We're going to accent that with a lot of the moss blocks, the mossy cobblestones, and we're going to use this as its darkest shade. And then when we can, we will also add in some highlights of some andesite. So that'll be the bottom half over there. Now, looking towards the actual build at the very top, we're going to be using a whole lot of browns. As you can see, we're going to be just transitioning everything slowly from a dark brown into its lighter browns. And we're going to accent that with the jungle. As you can see, it's not darker than this, but it's also not as light as this. So we can put it in between here and there, or we can put it in between the terracotta and also the mushroom block, just to add a little bit of highlight, but not take away from the overall color scheme of brown. But the base color will be blocks, bone blocks. We love our bone blocks. We've got them everywhere, scattered around our builds. It's just a really nice color because it's not yellow, it's not white, it's cream, kind of. It's also just so in between. So you can use so many different colors with that, but it's going to be very different. As you can see, this doesn't really blend into that, as well as the white terracotta blends into everything else. So it's going to be very, very noticeable once we make the build, but that's exactly the point. We're going to make some nice little shadows with these blocks here on the build. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's start building. I hope what I said made sense. If not, please stick around and hopefully it does after I build it. Hopefully. Okay, I'll see you guys in a bit. And for the next comment of the day, it goes to IQ, and they say, YouTube cooked with this recommendation. Holy schnappers, your builds are jaw-dropping. Thank you very much, IQ. I really am glad that you enjoyed that episode and the build, and I really hope you enjoyed this one as well. Thank you very much. Okay guys, welcome back. Welcome back. We are now finished with today's build. The super smelter is now all done, and please let me know what you guys think of this build in its entirety. I think it looks fantastic, but again, it is always a biased opinion considering that I did make it, but I think it looks fantastic. The first kind of building that I really did try to make long and also give it some height. So we do have some variations in height. We got the middle, we got the shortest, and now we have the tallest over there. And I think kind of bringing this down and through this other building was a good idea. At first, this little section of it didn't belong, but I thought it kind of looked a bit weird finishing on this tall building. So I kind of continued the pattern through here. So we have a little bit of extra space over there, and we found a nice little place to put the rooted dirt. Of course, we'll get to that once we do. For now, let's take a nice close look at everything else. As you guys can see here, we have a nice tall little building that kind of looks like the silo. In fact, it doesn't look too different from the silo other than the fact that it's a different color. But speaking of color, you guys can see got some blacks all the way to grays over there, and like I did mention before, the coal blocks is a fantastic little block that helps from the black into the grays. What do you guys think? I think it works, kind of. Maybe. I think maybe if we step back a little bit more, it kind of looks a bit better. Actually, it looks a lot better, but I think overall the coal blocks, not a bad choice. And now, moving on to this one over here, guys. We have the nice long building with the chimney on top. Yes, I really like the way it's turned out. I think I'm going to be using a lot more of this color palette in the future. Reds are a really cool thing, a really cool block to use, especially with the greens as well. Nice little complementary colors with those. But as you can see, we made use of the dripstone block with the granite and with the rooted dirt, and stepping back, you can see how it kind of blends into each other very nicely, and with the addition of some jungle blanks, some jungle slabs, they also fit in very nice because they're kind of orangey and reddish as well. Moving on to this building, this is our nice tall building. As you can see, we've made use of these coral blocks over here, also integrated some tuff, some mossy cobblestone, some cobblestone, and some andesite, just to make everything kind of flow together a little bit nicer, make everything look a little bit more crumbled and weathered. These are a fantastic block, and I think we also did use it, yes, we also did use it on the floor as well. Pretty much the same kind of pattern, the same kind of block from here to here, which was a good idea, I think, just kind of connect things together, but nothing too crazy here. We do have a bunch of furnaces at the front, just in case we don't need to smelt a whole bunch of things at a time. We can just do a small batch right over here, and I think we can get some coal, put it in there, and then just smelt it when we need it, but nothing too crazy at the front. Just a little sign over here, not too sure what that yellow and orange banner means, but it's there. Of course, we can change it later on, but for now we'll just leave it the way it is, and we do have a window over there. And just a nice little, was it called an awning, I believe? But nice little shelter over there. Just figured we could add something just to give it a little bit more depth, I believe, because it is quite flat. You know, if I look at it like that, we kind of need something that kind of juts out. So adding this awning does add a bit more depth, I think. But now, moving on to the back, we have a nice little stairway, of course, that heads up to the top because there is no entrance from the inside or the front, as you may have seen. We do have an entrance on the back, which I thought was a pretty good idea. A nice little detail. And just above it, we've got a nice little chimney. Right now, it is a small smoke, which means that nothing's been cooking. We do have it rigged up so that when there is something cooking, that little piece of hay block comes out, and then we get bigger smoke, so we know that something's cooking. When it's done, we can know by looking at the smoke, and then it'll be small again, letting us know that it's all done. But other than that, nothing too crazy at the back. We do have these little pillar things sticking out just to add a bit more depth as compared to being a flat wall. And this one over here is pretty much the same as it is on the front. But let's go ahead and let's have a nice look inside. We'll start over here actually. So this is the inside, and you can get inside of here through multiple directions. You can go through there, and you can also go through here. But once we're inside, this is where some of the magic happens. We have a whole bunch of pipes. As you guys can see, these pipes are not just for show. These are actually practical. We have them leading all the way up into the rest of the farm. I believe this one here is for the coal. No, this one here is for the items, and this one here is for all the charcoal that we make in the farm below. So once we do get charcoal, it kind of comes up, it goes around, and then it gets filled up into this little section over here, which is where we can fill up the fuel. And this bit is just for anything we want to smelt. This is connected to this little barrel over here. If we get a shulker box, put it in there. There is a shulker box unloader down below us. Put it in, unload everything, kind of comes up and through, and then gets loaded into this little bay over here, where it'll just get put into this cart over there, which is a pretty nifty thing to do. And everything else is just for decoration. As you guys can see, got a bunch of furnaces and some blast furnaces over here, some chests, some barrels, some beehives, some bee nests. Not too sure what those are called, but we've got some of those around, and we've got some lighting as well, and also scattered in some pots, because pots look amazing. And over here, the same deal. Over here is where I believe, yes, so we'll be getting all of our rooted dirt from here once we get the farm going, and of course I'll show you guys that in just a second. But moving on, let's go down to this section over here. This is the nice little silo area, and this will take us to the farm. Nothing too crazy with the decorations. We have some of the soul torches, I believe they're called. Not too sure about that, but we have some of those torches just hanging around because it does give off too much light, so it kind of sets the mood. But we come up through here. This is the nice little tunnel that will lead us into the farm section of today's build. And as you can see, we have been using it for quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but just to make sure that everything is working. And I think we're going to do that one more time, just so you guys can see. So let's go ahead and let's grab a stack of these guys over here and a stack of those. Put this in our offhand, and then we'll start the farm simply just by planting the azalea tree, and we'll just hold down right click, and there we go. This part you guys already know. We make the rooted dirt and the log. It gets pushed out by the pistons and the TNT goes off. We collect the rooted dirt and the logs as they travel up into the pipes. The rooted dirt will travel across this pipe here and up into the next one. But if it is a log, it's going to be cooked and turned into charcoal, and it's going to be sent up into a different pipe. Going back to the rooted dirt, it's going to travel up this orange pipe and then make its way into this barrel. Alright guys, we're now back at the top of the build, because I totally forgot to show you these furnaces in action. I forgot to show you guys how this thing actually works, not just the farm underneath. So in my inventory, we do have a whole bunch of stone. As you guys can see, the whole first row full of stone. And with it, we're going to pop it inside this barrel here. Like I said before, there is going to be a shulker box unloader. It's going to unload all the items into this little pipe here, which will then load this minecart over there, and then we can turn on the system. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's listen for the redstone. There it is, the shulker box unloader. And as you guys can hear, we have a whole bunch of items ticking through from the dropper and the shulker box unloader. And now we can turn it on by flicking this lever here, and we should see all the furnaces turning on. Fantastic. And they're just going to ride all the way back, and there we go. We're going to have all these things cooking up as well. We do have that door automatically closing just so we can stock up a few items before it goes again. Otherwise, it kind of runs out because we are limited by the dropper. Just putting all the items into this water stream and pipe, and then into these minecarts. So I've set a little timer, so that kind of fixes the issue. As you can see, we get 2 rotations from the minecarts before the door closes, and then they can start filling up items again, and then they're off to the races. And that is pretty much it. Let those things smelt. We do have these hoppers, as you can see. They lead into this chest, so we should be grabbing a whole bunch of smooth stone in just a moment. And with that running, we can now consider this project done. Now that, guys, isn't the end of today's episode. We've got a couple of great suggestions and ideas from the last episode, and I think we're going to put them into action. But before we do, we still have a couple of things that we need to do here. We need to either remove these boulders or dress them up. We need to add a pathway, and speaking of pathways, I did say we're going to fix up this wall and add a nice little pathway that connects this building to that one over there. So I think we'll cut it kind of around here and up. So we're going to add those in, and then we'll talk about the suggestions and the ideas that came with them and who sent them in. So I'll see you guys in just a moment. Let's get started with that. Let's fix up this wall over here, add the pathways, and then let's do the suggestions. I'll see you in just a moment. And I think we can finally call this place done, guys. What do you think? Yes, I've added a couple more things in after the replay mod. After we fixed the back and added this pathway in, I have added in some custom trees. These trees you've seen me use all around this place, but now, since we have access to candles, we can add that little brown candle at the top to give it a nice little point. And over here, just a nice little tree that kind of frames it all together. It was looking a little bit lonely with just this building standing there in the middle of nowhere. So with these couple of trees here, we've gone ahead and we've framed this nice piece of build. And I really like this tree as well. This tree's come out really nicely, just the way it kind of curves around, almost like it leads in to the next footpath, as you guys can see, kind of the way it curves in this way. So it draws your eye a little bit more to this way, and we can come around as well. But speaking of path, guys, here it is. Nothing too crazy, just the same old thing with the brown marshall blocks, the packed mud, and now we can finally use the rooted dirt and of course some coarse dirt and some little splashes of granite in this one. And I've gone ahead and wrapped this path all the way around, as you guys can see. It connects to the church and it connects just over there. We won't fix that one yet, the same one over there. We'll do that in later episodes because this one is running a little bit long. I know I did say we're going to keep it short, but damn, these things do get ahead of me and I just get too into it and we end up building a whole lot more than I anticipated. But in terms of the walls, as you guys can see, we've gone for a bit of a mossy, well, a really mossy and stone type of feel, but we've kept these walls on top pretty much the same as what you see over there with the cobblestone and a little bit of andesite towards the bottom. But as for the rest of the wall, this thing over here is all mossy and it is full of green, which I love. And as you can see, this place feels like it's been unkept. Feels overgrown. It's exactly the way I want it. And we've got a little bit of some plants. I've just gone through here and splashed it with some bone meal. So we've got some nice grass, and as you can see, we've also got some bamboos just poking out here. So got some strings on top just to make sure they don't grow too high. We can keep some variation in height. And over here, you guys can see I've pretty much just done another version of that staircase over here. Might as well keep it the same, I thought, because it is kind of connected to the same build. So we have a nice little staircase that takes us up. Again, some bone milling, some bamboo, and takes us all the way up here into this nice little iron shop. Once we get a few more builds going, this place is going to feel a lot better and it's going to have a lot more detail. We do have some random things that are not textured, like the stones, the boulders and whatnot, but for now, this place is nice and done. So let's go ahead and let's get started with the rest of today's build. And by that I mean, let's go ahead and let's get started with the comments, the suggestions that we have in the last episode. And I'm really excited to do this. I've never done this before, but as you guys can see, we have a book. And in this book, we have several, well, 3 suggestions from you guys that we're going to do. The first one is to do with this church, I believe. And that comes from Ian. And Ian says, in the cemetery, you could add a statue of an angel or 2. They'll protect the church from evil presences. Ian, that is a fantastic idea. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to add 4 instead of 1 or 2, just for 1 for each corner of the church. So let's go ahead and let's get started, and then we'll do the other suggestions as well. There it is, Ian. Your angels are now sitting on top of, well, on the corners of this church. And as you guys can see, it's just made of iron armor. And also, we do have elytra wings on each and every one of these guys because angels have wings, right? So we have to give them wings. And it's quite expensive. But hey, I don't think we'll be needing any of these spare elytras anytime soon. But if we do, we'll grab them from these guys here. Now, with that one done, we can move on to the next one. And next one actually is again at the church, and it's to do with this tree over here. And it is by Matthias. Matthias? And he says, the tree in the cemetery could have roots that are breaking/poking through the fence/wall behind the headstone. Another fantastic idea, and that's what we're going to do with this one as well. He also did say a couple of other things to do with the crypts over there, that little thing over there, but that is quite a big task, and I think we will do it. Matthias, we will do it definitely, but not today's episode. We'll do it in a different episode. It's a fantastic idea, so much so that I pinned it to the top of the comments of the last video. So thank you again, Matthias. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get started. We're going to start building from down here. So he says to make it kind of stick out of the wall behind us. So that's what we're going to do. All right, let's go. And there we are, Matthias. There is your suggestion. Thank you so much for your suggestion. It looks fantastic. Look at those roots kind of hanging out and breaking through the walls. Such a nice effect you can do with just stairs in this kind of like a little flat top of the wall. But we can even go inside and you can see we have some of these roots sticking up all over the place. So again, thank you so much for this brilliant idea, guys. If you have any suggestions of your own, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and we'll fill the next book up for the next episode. But with that being said, let's go ahead and go to the next suggestion, and that is over down here by the greenhouse, and it is to do with these big green towers here, and that is by, let's have a look, it is by drum.gorilla, and they say, for the 2 white towers that frame your starter house, it may be worth raising them a couple of blocks, just so the arch doesn't make that framing of your starter house seem squeezed. That is a fantastic idea, and Drum, I would love to do that, but we built this big ugly thing in front of it. So I think moving it up a couple of blocks probably won't do it any justice anymore, just because we have this silo over here. But it was still a fantastic idea, so I thought I'd mention it. Thank you again, Drum. So guys, with that being said, we are now done with today's episode. What a fantastic episode it was today, and I'm sorry that it dragged out for too long, and that it did take another 3 weeks for it to come out. I expect my videos to take around 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully the next video won't be as long. I'm thinking of keeping it maybe at 30 minutes. But guys, if you like today's episode, if you like today's build, what you see in front of you, please let me know in the comments down below. Again, let me know about your suggestions. And also, if you guys are new here and you don't mind subscribing, please hit that subscribe button. Trying to hit that 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think that's possible. I'm sure it is. And with your help, it definitely will be. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching today's one. Take care. And I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.